look at why our children's misbehavior can actually be a gift and why seeing it through this lens can actually not only help them, but help us. And
Mm,
I have Coach DK here, and he has a really fabulous leadership mindset program. And I really
mm.
believe that leadership in parenting really goes hand in hand. The part I especially like about Darren, is if that wasn't enough, is he's also a great dad and a great grandfather as well. So welcome. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks for having me. Excited
So
to be here.
yay. So Darren, I would love to know from you to start off is what would your best definition for leadership be?
Mm. Uh, I think it's such a vast subject, so I like simplifying. And so for me, leadership is creating space for success. And it's these four words, and that people can argue it and say, yeah, but and what about? And I'm like, yeah, but how about we create success for everybody involved? If we can do that, then I think you're a great leader.
Nate, it's particularly interesting, the creating space for success. I assume that that is going to be coming from a place of collaborative versus combative. And when parents, and I'm sure you can appreciate this, when parents are confronted with a behavior that's driving them crazy, oftentimes the first thing we want to do is resist or blame, shame, make wrong. I don't know, there might be others,
Lots of things, yes.
lots of things, but rarely does that lack of collaboration help us to get connection, help us to actually go forward. Do you see that in your work?
Yeah, constantly. I use this tool of the or this idea of the line, and the line is below the line. We've heard that term, but it's energy draining, exhausting, and usually very short term wins, if any wins at all. And below the line, if you want to go below the line, I'd say the first step is resist and totally resist what's actually happening and how people are versus what I think they should be.
Mhm.
If you want to go above the line, therefore, and have more energy, more possibilities, more good stuff, start with acceptance. And acceptance is simply this idea of this is what it is. This is happening. And once I can get there and I can actually get aligned with that, I have a lot more possibilities. I can be a lot more creative. And with that in mind, my goal is to help more people stay above the line longer.
So Darren, just knowing your work, I know one of the ways you seem to do that is by helping people create a better story. So
Yes.
that if the story we're telling ourselves is this sucks, they're never going to make it in the world. Oh my gosh, they're driving me crazy. This is causing my marriage to fall apart. And that
Yes.
will keep us below the line.
Yes.
But staying above the line, I guess my question for you, you told a story to me about one of your daughters who you were coaching. Well, you were coaching both of them in softball, and
Example, yeah.
how much of a shift you made to your coaching style, which my guess also made a shift to your parenting style and how you respond to
Yeah.
your daughters and probably grandchildren today. Can you share
Yeah.
that story and how perhaps at the time you didn't see it as a gift, but how it's turned out to be a gift?
Got to be in charge. So I coached my kids the way I was coached, which is basically we got to win, we got to win, we got to win, and we got to push through. And it was at the end of my coaching career with my daughters, and they were played their last game, and my youngest basically said that was brutal. That was an awful experience. I was like, well, that's the opposite of why I got into this. And we actually talked about that ride home. That one ride home was the best ride home because we got to have real feedback and I could really hear her. I was trying to coach her the way that I thought everybody should be coached. We're just going to all do it this way because this is the easiest way to control a bunch of people. Here's the rules. Just do this. Anything that's outside of this won't work for me as the leader. My daughter, one of them, she needed to be coached very differently. And I wasn't using her strengths. I was trying to make her fit basically the old square peg round hole into this. Let's be more competitive. Let's kill. Let's win. And she was actually more interested in connection and teamwork and getting out of the house. Like she had different priorities.
Mm.
She was my greatest teacher of how to be a better coach, which was understand what it is that the person wants. What does the individual want? It doesn't mean I have to throw out everything I know and now we only do it their way. But I don't think it works on either end of the scale. My way or the highway, or your way or no way. I don't think that's the answer. But somewhere in the middle is this, oh, you want this and I want this. How do we get there? And from there, I really think I've become a much more curious, much more open coach and leader.
Neat. And so, Darren, if you could go back, and hindsight is always, as they say, 2020.
Yeah.
If you could go back, like what were the stumbling blocks that perhaps would be keeping you below the line where you weren't looking at her strengths or where you weren't really looking at what was in it for her at that
Yes.
time? What, yeah, can you identify it now? Because I'm wondering if parents listening right now will be able to see themselves in that dynamic.
What I learned from from her, from a youngest, was this: she was really quite amazing in her own way, but she wasn't being amazing the way I wanted her to be amazing, right? Amazing would be a great listener, do what I say, smile on her face, high-fiving with the success. That's what I was looking for, and I had not that. I had somebody who was questioning everything and often very stuck in what I would call stubborn
Mhm.
and only knew her way and didn't care about any other outside information, which was basically me as the leader. I was doing that, but it looked way different when she was doing it. And as I've gotten to appreciate her strengths, she's a really strong leader and she just needs more information.
Mm.
And what I was very I withheld a lot. It's like, you don't need to know that. You don't need to know. You just have to do. You just have to trust me. You just have to, fall in line. Well, that is not her. I mean, that's just not her. And so it has a lot of strength. Like she is truly a leader in her work. She's a great mom. She knows what she wants too, but she's also a lot better than I was at listening to what people actually want and how can we make this work for more than just me. I did it under the guise that I'm helping,
Mhm.
but the reality is I really want it to be easy, and her way wasn't the easiest way. Now I see it as strong and like amazing and really incredible that she still held on to that, even though she had somebody pushing against it the whole way or for a long
Probably
time.
maybe where she learned it from.
Maybe,
I find
maybe.
it interesting because I think, most of us as human beings come from this egocentric point of view that, well, if this is important to me, obviously it's important to
Everyone.
everybody else, and my way is the better way. And I really find that that one usually is often like us in a different way, or
Yeah.
is like someone we don't really like,
Sure.
or is the complete opposite in many ways to how we are or what's important to us. I have an ADHD teen, and one of the things I am pretty good at is a clean and organized home. And that is one thing he is definitely, that's not important to him, and it's not his strength.
Yeah.
And, for many years, it would like, I was just like, oh, if only he would just do this, then everything would be perfect. And
Mhm.
by using that kind of line of questioning, I was really, um, there was a manipulation behind my wish rather
Yes.
rather than acceptance, as you spoke about before, of getting above the line to say, okay, what could I learn from this? And I realize now that I have old triggers from my
Yeah.
own that I have had the opportunity to heal some because of
Yeah.
this. That when I see a messy room, it means chaos, it means crazy, it means bad things are going to happen. Um,
Hmm.
and so that's been the gift to me. It's like,
My work now, I talk about, if you're triggered or activated, this is your invitation to do the work, right? Because there's going to be certain things that your child does that it doesn't bother anybody else, but you are just out of your mind about it. So that's often an old wound that's come up, and they're not being the way you want them to be, which is resistance, which takes you below the line, and we can't see much from there. If I could go back, which I don't actually think I can, and I don't actually know if I would want to. because I had such great learning and the memories now. And if you told me at the time, you're going to love this one day, I'd be like, you're out of your mind. It was a struggle constantly. But what I would say about it is I wish I had more patience and I wish I was more compassionately curious. And those are two things that I've really worked those muscles. And I would say that daughter is really, that's what she's put me in the gym for. I've worked those muscles and they are strong muscles now. I feel I'm very patient and very compassionately curious about whoever it is in front of me. And I learned that from my greatest teacher of that, which was my daughter.
Very cool. Are there any last gifts you would like to mark here that she gave you? You talked about patience, you talked about the curiosity, the compassionate curiosity. Is there anything else that has been game changing in your life from having a child who was fighting you, who was questioning, who wasn't always easy, wasn't giving the high fives and the smile?
Yeah. I think she really taught me the ability to zoom out. And so we talk about this idea with leaders is, hey, can you go to big picture? Because when we get in little picture, we can't see much, right? We can just do, we can just handle what's in front of us barely. But it's a survival mechanism, and often that's all we got. But what I really learned from her was the ability to go, can I zoom out? Say, like, what else is going on? What else? What's another way? How do we make this work?
Mhm.
Instead of getting stuck, which is small picture, I got really good at zooming out. And now I think I can help so many more people because I've been there. It's not like I don't understand when people say, I'm really struggling with this person, this child, this situation. It's like, okay, I get it. I struggle too. But why don't you come back here and see if you can find some other solutions and then go back? And again, I think one of my greatest teachers in that was having somebody who was just high spirited, stubborn, um, mirror for me to do the work. And again, now she's in her 30s and I think she's amazing. I think I've learned a ton from her. I think she's an incredible human. And what I get to see is how it works. All those things I thought these are going to be a problem. I see her using them as strengths. She is strong, she's independent, she's a fantastic role model, she's a great worker, she's a wonderful citizen. There's a lot of things that she's great at, and she has really worked on her strengths, and she's helped me work on mine.
Yay. Thank you. I think your reminders around how what we perceive as not gifts, because they're not our own gifts, are really our kids' gifts that can serve them so beautifully well in the future. And also, when we take that eagle perspective you talked about and seeing more possibility, how we can also really learn and heal. So, thank you for being an example of that. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
sharing some of the tools too around above the line. And I so appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And if you're watching right now and you want more support, a community where people connect and look at what are some tools that really help us to create more peaceful and fun homes, I invite you to come on over to the Facebook group. It's a free group called Stubborn Child Solutions Facebook group. Thanks so much.